Everyone, welcome to Wills and Spills, where I'll debunk common wills and estate myths over one cocktail at a time. The cocktail we're making today is called the Cosmonaut, and the myth is, I have financial power of attorney for my parents, so I can do what I want with their assets and money. And to help me debunk this myth, I've got Bree Ridgway with me, who's a barrister. Now, Bree does many of these cases about breach of power of attorney. So, Bree, we all know that as an attorney, you can't just do what you want with the principal's assets and money. What are the duties of an attorney?
So you absolutely can't do whatever you want with the principal's assets. There are certain duties which are set out in the relevant legislation, being the Powers of Attorney Act, which guide how an attorney is supposed to act in relation to the principal. And those include things like acting honestly, acting with diligence and due care, but they also require an attorney to act in the best interests of the principal, to avoid conflict transactions and not to profit from their position as an attorney.
So what would be an abuse of their financial power? Can you give us an example what that would look like?
So the really textbook example of a breach of power of attorney would be where the attorney uses that document, the power of attorney, to transfer an asset that belongs to the principal into the name of the attorney, usually for no consideration. And the reason that that's a breach is because divesting the principal of a significant asset of their own is obviously not going to be in their best interests most of the time. But it's also a breach because it's a conflict transaction, and it's using the power of attorney to benefit the attorney to the detriment of the principal.
Okay, let me just check this. Okay. So if a family member suspects that attorney is abusing their power, they can make an application to VCAT. Can you discuss what's the VCAT process and what could VCAT do in these sort of circumstances?
So VCAT has a range of remedies that are available if someone has breached a power of attorney, or if the attorney simply wants a bit of guidance about what they ought to do in a particular situation. Some of the things which the tribunal can order, for example, making a declaration about whether or not a particular transaction is valid or invalid. It can order an attorney to pay compensation to a principal or a principal's estate if the principal has suffered loss as a result of a breach of power of attorney. It can also ratify a conflict transaction. So, for example, there was a really good reason to transfer an asset from the principal to the attorney, then you can come to VCAT and with clean hands and ask for permission to do that. One of the things which it's really important to remember is that the first question on the lips of VCAT is usually, why isn't it the principal bringing the application themselves? And of course they can, but it's something which a concerned child really ought to be quite mindful of, is that the tribunal will often ask whether or not the principal has decision-making capacity. And if they do, they'll want to know why it isn't the principal themselves that are bringing an application for compensation, for example, in relation to a breach of the power of attorney. So it's really important to remember when you're seeking legal advice, or if you're bringing the application yourself, to be clear about what your position is in relation to the decision-making capacity of the principal before you issue proceedings.
So if you suspect an attorney is abusing their power, or if you're an attorney and you're unsure what your power and role is, it's really essential you seek legal advice. All right, we can have our drink now, Bree.
Delicious.
Thank you so much. Cheers.